Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate for basic human rights for all people. My motto is that thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And that basically means that you, the people, in those bodies, on this earth, at this time, enjoy the best life that is humanly possible. Today I want to speak to you on the subject matter, human beings, too important to fail. Not very long ago, leaders of our country thought that the economy was very depressing. Banks were going bankrupt. Everything was haywire, crazy. And our president and others came out and said that these banks, these institutions were too big to fail. And so they borrowed money and put money back into the banks. And now, having done that, the banks were revived, some of them. CEOs started taking home millions of dollars. And the people, well, they started losing their homes, couldn't get credit, losing their jobs, and it just seemed like they could fail. Some strange reason, it seemed as if the people, the ones at the banks, the ones that all of the institutions have been set up to protect and to help assist them in reaping the American dreams, turn it back on. But there is someone somewhere who is very concerned about you, the American people, and people all over the earth. And you are too important to fail. So you'll know who I'm talking about. I want you to know is God. And I am an instrument that have been chosen, set aside to come out here and tell you that you are just that important to God. Many of you have heard that God loved you so much that he sent his only son, his only begotten son into the world to show you how to live, to show you to have faith in a power that you couldn't see, that power was able to protect you regardless of whatever situation you found yourselves in. In fact, I don't know how many of you believe this, but for those of you who do, supposedly Christians, they killed God's son, buried him. One day, he rose from the grave. Holes still in his hands, in his feet, pierced in the side. Evidence that it was the same person that they took down. And he ascended into heaven. Many of you don't believe that, but I'm not talking about whether you believe it or not. I am speaking, however, to those who believe it. And those who believe it have a responsibility. The responsibility is to walk accordingly. And as you do, those who do not believe can be drawn to believe. For the past 33 years, ladies and gentlemen, I have been given a message to tell you that God loves you. And that everything that is in existence was made for you, the people. Not for some of you, but for every last one of you. You have been lied to, you have been tricked, you have been deceived, and you are being robbed. I told you this 33 years ago, and this very day, I'm telling you again. Many of you say you know it, but none of you walk as if you really do. And I'm not going to jump on your back, because even though I have been giving you this message for 33 years and trying to awake you, I myself have not walked accordingly, which means this. While I've given you this information, I wanted to cause you to rise up, to cause you to have an enlightenment, to stand firm on something different than what you've been standing firm on your life, this which has failed you. And while I'm waiting and wanting you to do that, I was not standing on solid ground. But I have a new message to tell you today, ladies and gentlemen. I have wanted you to believe. But you didn't get the message from God. I did. And if I got the message, then it is incumbent upon me to walk according to that message I've given you, whether you never do it. I know that I, as an individual, will not be able to change society. I will not be alone able to make sure that every last one of you have houses and have in that house exactly what you want. I alone will not be able to make you have transportation, private and public, and education unlimited and unrestricted. I alone will not be able to guarantee to you that you will have health care from the womb to the tomb. I alone will not be able to guarantee to you that each of you can have careers of choice. All of these things have been designed for you, but you must claim them. You must protect one another, each other, from any vice that will come and deny you these things. You must do that. God will not force it upon you. You must make the choice. Now, ladies and gentlemen, after all of these years, I'm making the choice for me. This government that I live under, that you live under, to me, is no more important than that system that was in operation back in the 1700s, when there was slavery, when their women didn't have any rights. That same old system is the one that is in play today. Now, just because it is in play today, that is not an indication that we as a people must accept it. You don't know that, but I know that. And knowing that, I reject it. From henceforth, I reject it. I do not accept it, and I will walk accordingly. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so very much for listening to me. Up to this very point, I want to thank you so very much for listening to me. But you know what I really want you to know? People all over the world are entitled to life. And everywhere people exist, somebody's lying to them, taking their lives. It doesn't matter whether it's under socialism, capitalism, or communism, or any other isms. Somebody is constantly lying to the people, robbing the people, and the people do not know God. Now there has been a church that has been set aside to teach people about God, so you won't get totally caught up in society, what society says. You have another way of looking at things. But today, the church has failed. The church seems to be just another institution within the state. And the state has declared that speaking about God to an extent where it has some value is unallowed. In fact, it's illegal. And the people are suffering because of it. And that church that has been set aside to make sure that God got representation here is as dead as you and I. I'm telling you this, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm not following churches any longer. If I go and have any respect for a church, it is because they are doing the will of God. And what is the will of God? The will of God, as far as people are concerned, is that they love one another, that they care about one another, that they protect one another as they themselves want to be protected. And if they are not doing that, I don't care how much shouting, how much fainting, how much passing out, how much going to church, how much preaching, how much singing, how much playing the band, how much missionary. None of that stuff is worth one iota. I don't care how much they talk about saving souls. It doesn't mean a thing. You cannot save one soul. You can't even save your own soul. But you can choose to treat people like you want to be treated. Today we have politicians talking about their pocketbook, telling the government, get out of my pocket, because they got something and they want to protect it. They don't give a hoot about those of you who don't have anything. And you come and let some lame duck politician come along and promise you something, and you go and support that. Well, I'm only speaking these things to you at this present time because it is true. But I know for 30 years you have heard it and you still walk accordingly. You have not changed a bit. But I cannot and I will not be so disgusted with you, because as you walked, so did I. I mean, I might have known, I guess I'm one of the biggest hypocrites, because you didn't get the word. Nobody is giving you the word but me, and I say me, and I say say nobody, because if there are others that have given you the word, I don't know anything about it, because there's an effort taken to make sure that if the word is being given, nobody gets a chance to hear it. The media have closed the door from the print, audio, and video. They don't want this message heard. So there might be others out there that's given the same message, but to appear to be as silent as I have appeared to be. But even though I have been speaking out, the truth of the matter is, I haven't been walking it. And have not walked mean that my talk is in vain. So what am I saying to you? I'm saying to you that, for me, I have no respect for a government that has no respect for me. I have no respect for a church that has no respect for me. I have no respect for a society that has no respect for me. I have no respect for anything or anyone that has no respect for me. But what I do respect is the Almighty Creator. And that Creator says, I gotta treat you like I want to be treated. So I'm going to, by every ounce of power I can muster, I'm going to treat you like I want to be treated. But I'm not going to take anything from you. The days of walking according to your dictates because you will punish me, because you will put me in jail, or you will kill me, those days are over. I say take your best shot. If God is God, then let God be God. That's what I say for me. And I'm going to walk according to the Spirit that leads me, and I don't care what you do to me. If God says you can't do anything, you can't do anything. And if God says do it, then so be it. I am free. Now, freedom, what does that mean? That means I got a family. My family depends upon me to make sure that their needs are met. I depend upon God to make sure that I'm able to do that. And yet, in order for God to be able to supply my needs and my family's needs, your needs have to be met. We have to work together, not competitively, but cooperatively. We must work together to make sure that what I require, what my family requires, that your needs, your family's needs are met. And as we do that for each other, as we do that for people in the United States of America, that is the way we must treat other nations. What they have if we want it, what we got if they want it, we must work it out so we can exchange things. That each of us, nation to nation, can enjoy life because that is the way it is meant to be. Now these peg-legged politicians that's talking about cuts, spending, and don't mess with taxes, I'm not going to argue with that, because raising taxes is not the answer. Cutting spending is not the answer. But the Almighty came up with a plan that works. That is the answer. And that is the plan that I've been talking about. That is the plan I'm going to continue to talk about. And that is the plan I'm going to advocate. And that is the only plan I'm going to accept. Now I got a court date coming up pretty soon, where they say I was driving without a seatbelt. And they want me to appear in court and pay them $100+ for not wearing a seatbelt. That's the stupidest, the foolish thing I ever heard of. I talked to this nation for 30 years about peace, about prosperity and joy for every citizen, where everybody can have that education I mentioned a moment ago. Everyone can have that health care I mentioned a moment ago. And everyone can have a career choice, and they have made sure that you haven't heard, and those of you who have heard had ears, but you did not hear. And you want me to come listen to some stupid stuff like you didn't have a seatbelt on, so give me $100. No, I will not entertain that. I will not entertain that. In fact, I will not entertain anything about this system that I choose not until you listen to me. And I don't care what you do to me. You're going to listen. You're going to listen. I guarantee you're going to listen, because I am not going to have it any other way. Now, the banks got propped up. You, the people, didn't. But you are too important to fail. And so that is why it is required. That is why I have to stand. because this message must be given out. If you, the people, reject it, this message must live. And this message must live in the one who was given that message, and that is me. Now, I hope that as I walk according to the dictates of the message that I've given you, that you will do likewise. But if you don't, there is something that is happening to America right now. You've heard me say it before. America is supposedly the most powerful nation on the earth militarily. They're supposed to be able to kick anybody's butt because they got the hardware. And if you notice, they have been flexing their muscles across the various countries. And there are nations who have been beat down by America, and they've tried everything to retaliate in a fashion that was purposeful, but they have failed. But you know what? Nature seems to be responding in their stead. We are losing so much through hurricanes. Towns are being wiped out. Tornadoes, towns are being wiped out. Floods, towns are being wiped out. Droughts, people can't farm the land. All of these things are happening by nature. And no human being is doing it. And we are going down the tube and have no solutions. Don't even have any idea of what's happening. But you know what? As all of these things are happening, there are people out there trying to make sure they capitalize on it. They're increasing the prices on fuel. Fuel should not cost you a dime. They're increasing the prices on food. Food should not cost you a dime. They're increasing the prices on your clothes. Shouldn't cost you a dime. On your energy costs, your electric bill, your light bill, should not cost you a dime. But I'm probably the only person that's told you that, because I never heard anybody tell me that before. But it's true. Now, the only way you can get that, ladies and gentlemen, not voting for George Bush or George Bush kind, not voting for Barack or Barack's kind, or not voting for me and my kind. The only way you can get that is to choose God. If you choose God and God's plan, you can have this because you will start thinking like God. You will think like God because the Spirit will be in you, and what God is thinking, the Spirit is thinking, and you will know it. And you can walk according to that. And you can understand things that are about to happen before they happen, and you can make the right turns to avoid those things that will not come out perfectly for you. And when I say for you, I'm not just talking about you as an individual. I'm talking about for you and your family. I'm talking about for you and your community. I'm talking about you and your state, you and your nation, and ultimately, you and the world. And you know what? You won't have to have 666 written across your forehead. You won't have to have a chip stuck in your hand. You won't have to use any of those things to trade, to take from the reservoir of goods and services that you, the people, created. All you have to do is participate in the development and the process, and that includes taking from it. I hope you've gotten this message. I went today. I didn't go to church. This is Mother's Day, 2011. I didn't go to church because I didn't feel any real reason to go. For my kid's mother, I cleaned up the house for her so she wouldn't have to do it. Made it look good so when she brought her family by, the house would look neat. I fixed a great dinner, I think, for my son's, significant others, for my children that are here, and for my significant other. That was divine to me. But going to a church, hearing somebody exploit the situation, and God getting no flavor out of it, was just something that did not interest me at all. And I have no interest, and I will have no interest as long as this is all the church has to offer. But I thank God for you. I thank God for me. And I thank God for this moment and this opportunity to tell you that this boy that you're looking at right now is a brand new boy. And I got a brand new suit on to accentuate that reality. So until next time, this is Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate for basic human rights for all people. Not just for black people, not just for white people, not just for men and women, not just for Americans, but for people all over the earth. My motto, once again, is that thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And that translates into peace, prosperity, and joy for every last one of us. And that is translated into jobs, healthcare, education, homes, everything that you have ever dreamed of. That's what it translates into. And it becomes a fruit of the people, God's people. What is better than that? Bye-bye.